Hello and welcome to Blender Bite Size. In this video I'll be showing you how to make this material procedurally in Blender. Feeling lazy? You can support this channel and skip the hard work by grabbing the blend file for this material from Gumroad for just £1. Feeling flush? Feel free to throw some of that coin my way using the coffee link in the description below the video. Okay, we've got a whole bunch of nodes to throw in here, so let's make a start. I'm in the shading tab, I've got my object loaded, I'm enabling viewport shading, I've got the cycles render engine selected, and I've applied a principled shader. Now I'm going to need another one of those, so I shall press Shift D and duplicate that, bring it over here. And I'm going to need a mix shader to bring those two together. Now I'm going to need a Musgrave texture, so I'm pressing Shift A and searching for these each time. That's something you will also need to do. Now I'm going to need 2, 3, 4 of these, so I shall just duplicate them by pressing Shift D each time. I'm also going to need, believe it or not, 5 color ramps. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Obviously nothing's happening at the top here at the moment because I haven't connected any of these. Let's grab ourselves a mapping node and a texture coordinate, plug the object into the vector and connect this up to all of the vectors from the Musgrave textures. And we're also going to need a noise texture. So we'll chuck him at the bottom and connect him up as well. Right, let's start connecting some bits up so we can see what's going on. So the factor from this top noise Musgrave texture is going to go into the factor slots of the top 2 color ramps. And then we're basically connecting one Musgrave texture to each of the next 3 color ramps. Now this top one is going to go, let's shift these about a bit so they're easier to see and get hold of. That didn't work, did it? Okay. So the color from the top color ramp is going to go into the base color of the shader that's going into slot 2 of the mix shader. Finally, something has happened. The color from the second color ramp is going to get plugged into the factor of the mix shader. Then we need a mix RGB, and this is going to go into the base color of the second principled shader. So let me bring that down. It's going to be a mess for a while, but I can't really do anything about that, I'm afraid. Now we need to take the color from the third color ramp into the factor of this mix shader, and then the colors from the next 2 into color 1 and color 2 slot, and we'll change the blending mode to overlay. Now we do need a bit of a bump for each of those principled shaders. So I shall duplicate that, move that over, plug that in. Into our first principled shader, we're going to take the color from the second color ramp into the height slot. And then the height for this second bump node, we're going to take from the noise texture. That's right on the bottom. Okay, I think everything is connected up. Does look like it, but we're nowhere near what we need for our texture. So let's make a start. On the first Musgrave texture, change the scale to 3, detail to 10, dimension to 0.15, and the whatever it is, whatever. That one to 1.9. Lacunarity, I think it's meant to be. So that's given us a nice texture going on there. On the second one, change the scale to 50, detail to 15, dimension to 0.1, and 1.5 on the last one. I won't be trying to say that anymore in this video. On our third Musgrave texture, change the scale to 200, detail to 15, dimension to 0.1, and 2 for the final value. On the final Musgrave texture, change the detail to 15, dimension to 0, and the last value is 1.5. On the noise texture, which seems to have disconnected from the bump, I'll have to reconnect that. Change the scale to 10, detail to 15, roughness to 0.8, and leave the distortion alone. Boink, there we go. Right, while we're at changing a few settings, let's change the bump to 0.1 and distance to 0.001 on that first one. And then on the second one, we'll leave it as it is. Right, okay, on our principled shaders, this first one, we're going to bump the metallic all the way up to 1. Decrease the specular tint to 0. Change the roughness to 0.15. So this is giving us our metallic look. And then on the second shader, roughness all the way up to 1. All of these down to 0. Yep. Let's get rid of a few of these settings by just changing that mode a bit. Might give us more space as well. Okay, let's make a start on the color ramps. So for this first color ramp, change the interpolation mode to cardinal, and we're going to need 3 extra settings. Actually, let me get rid of those. I can do something else. For this, we're going to change it to a very dark green. So let's say 0.4 on the hue, 0.95 on the saturation, and a bit too dark, 0.002 on the value. Still taking it as a grey. So let's grab the hex code, 000804, 000804, and then on the hue, the value, we can start increasing that incrementally. Need another one. In fact, I need 3 in the middle here. Oops. 804, and then change the value. Each one should be lighter than the last, but hopefully blend quite well. So what was that value? 0.081. Okay, we'll leave that one as it is. For the next color ramp, we'll leave it as linear. But we're going to add a second black in here. Move it to 0.3 and move the white to 0.35. Maybe a bit less, 0.31. So we're sort of creating a very sharp color transition. Now let's go to the third color ramp, and for this one again we're going to use cardinal as the interpolation. For the color, the black value, we're actually going to use quite a light grey. Let's say 0.3, and leave the end one to white. Now for this one, for this color ramp, we're going to need to introduce our rust colors. So we're going to go for, let's just find the color first. We can change the value. Let's go for that. And then we're going to bring the white value over, paste in that hex code, but just change the value very, very, very slightly. And then for the final color ramp, we need 3 colors in all. And we're going to go for some green colors. This is going to be our like verdigris type stuff. So let's go around a bit. Slightly bluey greens for these. That's way too much. Let's take the value down. There we go. For this one I'm going to go for a slightly more mossy green or yellowy green. And instead of changing the value, I'm changing the saturation on this one. Maybe a little bit of value. And then for the final one, let's get it round to sort of quite an aqua blue. Bit more. And let's just drop the saturation a bit. Okay. Right. One thing I do need to do is invert that bump that's just down here. Okay, so just a bit of fiddling to do. Let's take a look at things individually. So that's our greeny colours. That's for roughness, colour ramp, some mask, the factor. Okay, let's just play around a bit. That's not right. Let's get rid of the white from the top colour ramp, and let's just increase the value on this particular one. Let's drag that back, and what I'm trying to do is get like a graduation from dark to light. I think that works. So we've got the metallic goldy colours, which come from here. Then we've got the verdigris, which come from here. So we're plugging the verdigris, the greeny colours, into the shader that's got the roughness. And we're plugging the gold colours together with some slight greeny colours, mixing them together in this shader that's got the metallic applied, and using this as kind of a control method on how to combine those. So we've got a little bit of adjustment going on here. Maybe let's drop that back a bit. So you can see we've got sort of the oranges and the greens being mixed together. Right, I think that'll just about do us. Hope it's all made sense. Let's take a look at what it looks like when we render it out. Alright, so there we have our oxidized metal. We've got the kind of verdigris going on, we've got the variegated texturing, we've got the metallics in all sorts of shades of colour. So I hope that helps you in a future project. If it does, or even if you just enjoyed the video, please remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for future content. In the meantime, thanks for watching.